Let's watch Tucker Carlson.
Karl Marx, of course, he wrote that famous phrase in 1848. Pretty likely that Marx himself never met an actual worker. Wait a second. He didn't spend a decade in a cotton mill witnessing the oppression firsthand? No. Karl Marx never spent a moment in a factory. He was a rich kid who became a journalist. Of course he was. But for more than 150 years, Karl Marx inspired generations of other rich kids who also became journalists to repeat his line or variations of it.
When I think of like the works of Karl Marx inspiring other rich kids who've never stepped foot inside of the factories, I think of like, I don't know, one of the largest communist parties on the planet that has, let's see what the attendance is for communist parties in India. You know, that sort of shit, dude. I think about how the farmers, for example, in India that successfully broke the government's back, basically, past couple of months, where they were actively protesting a rule change in how, was it grains that were, like the way that grains were supposed to be privatized, like I don't want to fuck it up. Anyway, look, the point is this, okay? There are millions of fucking communists in the third world, in developing nations, all of these other countries that are not the classic, oh my God, you're just a fucking rich liberal who calls himself a fucking Marxist, okay? It was a year-long protest, yes. This approach is so American-centric.
Over time, workers became working men or working class, and then with feminism, working people or working families. But the idea itself never changed. Ordinary people, wage earners, are getting shafted. So they've got to unite. They've got to come together for protection and for dignity.
There are like 6 communist parties in India with almost the exact same name, and every single one of them has more members than the biggest party in the U.S.
This was the idea, of course, behind the organized labor movement. And every Democratic president, from Andrew Jackson until now, has made the very same point over and over again. The noble people...
Yeah, what's up? Like, what's up with the Democratic presidents? Weren't they fucking rich dickheads, dude? So, like, Karl Marx, rich kid, never stepped foot in a factory. All the fucking communists worldwide, including like the millions of fucking communists that are farmers in India or I don't know, the revolutionary communists all around the fucking planet that have regularly fought against American imperialism, which Tucker Carlson, of course, considers to be, or Western imperialism, which Tucker Carlson, of course, considers to be terrorists. He thinks that those guys are terrorists. All of those guys are just rich kids who've never stepped foot in a factory. What about you, Tucker? You are literally the richest of rich kids. So this thing that really frustrates me about like people who are constantly like, dude, Hassan, you bought a fucking Porsche, dude. You bought a fucking Porsche. How dare you? You're not really representing the interests of the working class. And then those motherfuckers turn around and watch Tucker Carlson, dude. Literally, like, the Swanson frozen food dynasty's very own Tucker Carlson. He is a better fucking representation for workers' rights? Really? That's a real fucking working class individual? Maybe you just agree with him and you disagree with me and you don't know what's in your best interest. It's fine. You don't know, and you are going to be destined for a lifetime of subjugation either way. I guess it's better to fucking assume that subjugation is happening because you were just not working hard enough or not working smart enough, rather than recognizing that it's a consequence of systemic problems caused by many, many centuries of attrition, okay, and that it's actually not your fault, and there are ways that you could potentially fight back against that. Maybe you don't want to think about all that. Maybe it makes you feel better that, like, you know, you got a hypocrite commie over here. Oh, fuck this guy. I like the real working class, Tucker Carlson. Okay, have fun. Have fun with that, dude. Have fun in squalor. Have fun with the fucking budget shortfall built into your very existence. Maybe one day you'll bootstrap it.
People of Scranton, you hear it even today. So Democrats have repeated that line often enough, you would think they really mean it. Do they really mean it? Let's take the test. Here's how you know.
Not budget surplus, budget shortfall built into your existence.
Watch what happens when actual workers, working people from working families who constitute the working class, actually come together as a group to protest how things are going. What happens then? Does the intellectual class greet these workers as heroes? Throw a parade? Listen intently to their stories? Does NPR do a sympathetic...
So Hassan can't be a hypocrite because Carlson is a hypocrite? I'm a hypocrite if you think socialism means you have to live in squalor. I'm a hypocrite if you think socialism means you just simply, like, even if people are just giving you fucking money, okay, when you have made this for free, when you have provided this content for free, and that everybody knows you can provide it for free, but people are like, listen, motherfucker, I watch you for 8 hours every fucking day. That means I see 8 top of the hour ad breaks, and I don't want to see those ad breaks anymore. I want to give you $5 a month, okay, to avoid those ad breaks. Or I want to give you $5 a month just because I appreciate what you do. I don't give a fuck. It's worth it for me. I want to do that. And people are doing that. Then what's it to you? Why are you fucking losing your mind over it? What do you want me to do? Oh, donate 99% of it. No, I'm not going to donate 99% of the fucking money that people are giving me. I donate plenty, but this is not about that anyway. This is not about donations, okay? Because donations don't fucking solve problems. And even when I literally raise money to solve direct problems, then nobody gives a fuck. Because even then it's like, oh, that's because you're trying to get a tax break. No, the real issue is you're fucking angry. And you think the guy, the messenger that's telling you why you're angry is the actual person at fault. He should not make money. If people have this attitude to you, why not Danny DeVito? Literally same shit, except people like Danny and don't think they could do this job, whereas every liberal wants to bite your shit. That's the difference is, first of all, the difference is like Danny DeVito does not have a fucking stream that he opens every day where he talks to people. That's it. Not donating to the right people, gotta support local. Dude, that's so frustrating. Okay, I do that already. I do that. It doesn't matter. Guess what? We're not solving anything, okay? I still do it regardless, but it doesn't matter. Wow, it sounds like you like the free market. Dude, I love the free market, dude. The freer the market, the freer the people. You know what I mean? I'm such a good capitalist, dude. I get why capitalists get mad. They're mad because no matter how much fucking they got from their daddy, there's a billionaire's son who fucking hates me. I talk about it all the time. He hates me. He hates me. He's in like our extended group of friends. Okay? This motherfucker hates me, okay? Tells our group of friends all the time how much he thinks I'm a hypocrite. You know, oh, doing more capitalism, I see, whatever. Yeah, you know why? No matter what he does for the rest of his life, he's a billionaire's son. Like, it's over. Like, he's never going to be able to work to a place where, like, passes his father. He's always going to live in his father's shadow. And his life is fine. Like, his life is fucking great, you know? He's insanely rich. Like, but ultimately, I'm always gonna have that over him. You know what I mean? I work for this, and I'm happy. Like that Gary Vee story. I mean, kind of. Why is it so important to defend the Porsche for you? Just curious. Ugh, just curious. Andes are so fucking annoying. It's not important for me to defend the Porsche. It's just I'm making a fucking purchase because I can. It's it. Here you go. I hope that you know opened up your curiosity. I hope that was a good enough answer for your curiosity.
Do self-described progressives recoil in revulsion?
Justifying it because you're insecure about it? No, of course not. Why would I be insecure? I'm not insecure about the fucking house, and I'm not insecure about the car. Well, no, not even remotely. Oh God, what am I doing? They are literally trying to fucking bring the conversation back up over and over again. 99.9% of the people in this community or the people that come into the stream are not even remotely interested in having this conversation over and over again. Let's continue.
Horror at the grubbiness of the people who, as we used to say, work for a living. Do liberals immediately denounce them as Nazis and call for their suppression by force? That's the question. What's the answer? Well, ask Trump voters what happens. They'll know. Or consider what's happening right now in Canada. Thousands of truck drivers have descended on Ottawa, the capital city, to protest the tyranny of Justin Trudeau's government. Justin Trudeau does not like truck drivers. He thinks they're revolting. Justin Trudeau likes private equity barons and tech.
Bro, these guys are a tiny fraction of the truck drivers, okay? They're not a real constituency. They're not a real part of the truck drivers. There's like a couple of these, okay? There's a couple of truck drivers in there. Most of the other people are not even fucking truck drivers themselves. They're just anti-vaxxer hogs. 90% of the truck drivers in Canada are vaccinated. That's it, 90%.
Moguls and other people who give him money. Trudeau is not in Ottawa right now. In fact, he and his family fled when the truck drivers arrived, and they've been in hiding ever since. So when the revolution he has been calling for finally arrived, Justin Trudeau wasn't there to see it. He ran away in terror. Kind of sad. So instead, in his place, his friend Mark Carney has been speaking for him. Carney is a former Goldman Sachs executive who many believe will replace Justin Trudeau if Trudeau ever decides to give up power. In a recent op-ed, Mark Carney vented his rage at the impudent truckers in Ottawa and anyone who sent them money on the internet. Quote, "Anyone sending money to the convoy should be in no doubt," Carney wrote. "You are funding sedition. Foreign funders of an insurrection interfered in our domestic affairs from the start." Got that? It's not a protest. It's sedition. It's an insurrection. Clearly, Mark Carney's been watching a lot of CNN up there in Canada, and that's why he's concluded the truckers should be crushed by force. Quote, "Those who are still helping to extend this occupation must be identified and punished to the full force of the law.
Let's
People who sent
go,
them
police
money
state.
should be prosecuted. If they're not prosecuted," Mark Carney fears, quote, "the constant blaring of horns at all hours will bankrupt our businesses." Are you laughing yet? So the very same finance ghouls who cheered lockdowns for 2 solid years are now deeply concerned that small businesses might be hurt by the trucker protests. Hilarious. It'd be interesting, by the way, to poll small business owners in Ottawa to see what they think. How do they feel about the truckers? Somehow you know exactly what those results would be, but no one's doing that poll, of course.
Wait, what? First of all, what would the results be? That, like, does Tucker Carlson think that they would be? I mean, they are petite bourgeoisie, right? So, like, he might be wrong. He might be right.
Let the brain rot begin. I look forward to many glorious stunlocks.
But I'm pretty sure, regardless of whether or not, like, these fucking business owners in Ottawa are fans of the vaccine mandate or not, does not change the reality that they definitely don't like what the fucking truckers are doing.
Instead, they found an easier way. Justin Trudeau has just ordered police to shut the whole thing down. How do you do that? How do you stop a truck protest? Simple. You seize their fuel. That's exactly what police in Canada are doing. Watch.
Let's go!
So, in fact, yes, they are taking fuel right away from people as they attempt to fuel their vehicles.
Okay, so we are, through much practice, connoisseurs of irony. So let's pause a moment to savor the irony here. The very same people who told us we had to defund the police are now telling the police to seize fuel from working-class Canadians who are trying to stay alive in Arctic temperatures. As they used to say in the 1960s, scratch a liberal and you will find a fascist. That was a Black Panther slogan, actually. They weren't entirely stupid. In fact, in this case, they were absolutely right. According to Justin Trudeau, possessing gasoline in the city of Ottawa is now a crime.
Oh my God. I love that the only time Tucker Carlson is pro-worker is when 90% of the workers are vaccinated already. And it's like literally 10% of workers that are making it seem like they have outside representation.
Now, to be clear, Ottawa didn't declare the state of emergency because the truckers lit a courthouse on fire, or shot someone, or leveled a church. BLM did all of those things, but Justin Trudeau strongly supports BLM. He reaffirmed his support the other day. Here's the problem.
Wait, bro, it would be so fucking tight if for once, just for me, one government treated these hogs like they normally treat Black Lives Matter protesters.
And we're going to let the mayor of Ottawa, or Ottawa, as it's correctly pronounced in Ojibwa, explain why peaceful truck drivers pose an imminent danger to Canada.
It's disturbing when you see the protests turning into what looks like some kind of a fun carnival where they've got bouncy castles.
Yo, that stuff is not disturbing. That stuff is actually cool. Like I'm a fan of that. But what's disturbing is, first of all, they're annoying, and I hate that more than anything else. They're just like annoying for no good reason. Like there's no good reason for you to be protesting. But the other part of it that is like beyond being a nuisance is like they're like yelling at people. They're fucking like screaming at like random Ottawans that live in Ottawa for obviously the reason that like nothing goes on in Ottawa. You know what I mean? Like you can't go to Ottawa and fuck shit up. These people literally live there because it's like, you know, nothing happens in Ottawa. So now you're just like harassing them when they just want to be chill, you know what I mean? That's fucked up.
Hassle.
And hot tubs and saunas, a complete insult to the people who are putting up with this nonsense for the last 7 days, and it shows a great deal of insensitivity.
They've got bouncy castles for kids, growls the childless mayor of Ottawa. Let's hurt them.
like a residential building arson thing happened recently. Like, people don't feel safe. That's not cool. But obviously, like, I do not care about like the fucking honking and shit. Like, I don't. That stuff's funny.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's a dark scene in Truckistan tonight. The kids are on the bouncy castles. GoFundMe announced it would redirect the $10 million raised by supporters of the truckers to charities of its choice, presumably BLM, which it has supported since the very beginning. In other words, GoFundMe planned to steal that money.
Remember Chop in Seattle and truckers' coverage of that, and how it was like a truckers' coverage of that, and how it was like a Cyberpunk 2077 trailer? Yeah, I do remember. I had that famous meme where I played the Cyberpunk 2077 music over it. Yes, I am familiar. Yes, I do remember. Except, of course, this is the trucker version of Chop.
We're stopped from doing this, by the way, by a number of American attorneys general who threatened to sue the company. So the company backed off, and they're going to refund the money, supposedly. But still, the truckers, the people for whom this money was intended, will not get it. So in the absence of GoFundMe doing what it's supposed to do, others are filling the gap. An alternative crowdfunding website called Give, Send, Go has stepped up and raised already more than $5 million for the truckers. How long till they try to shut that down, too? Some Canadians are clearly worried about that. They're turning to cryptocurrency. Tallycoin, for example, is a small crowdfunding service that uses Bitcoin. It's not controlled by banks. That's the point. Amazing. They're hosting a fundraiser for the truckers. Now, why is this appealing? No one can steal the money. No government can pressure anyone.
Oh, dude. It's not suspicious that there is so much money involved in this. Like, for, like 100 truckers were able to get millions. And I mean millions of dollars in funding. This is literally like they're trying to do the American reactionaries are trying to do a color revolution. And it's the opposite of like the civil society fucking NGO grift. It's like using the most reactionary, which is, I guess that is the State Department. That's what they do regularly. Usually they just, people are dumping like 200K into it. Like one tapping 200K and shit. Depends. If there are many people contributing small amounts, then no. Look at Twitch streamer earnings. No, dude. Twitch streamer, there's not a Twitch streamer on the planet that makes $5 million a month. Are you out of your fucking mind? And no, people are dumping so much money into it. There was a guy who gave $200,000. No, XQC doesn't make $5 million a month either. What? Guys, they raised $10 million on the first round on GoFundMe, and then immediately another $5 million.
Anyone to turn the money over because governments don't control crypto. Bitcoin goes from person A to person B, and all the intermediary does, the company, is connect the two. It's pretty appealing. And you can imagine the long-term consequences here. If the people in charge in this country and in Canada want to make the US dollar irrelevant, they'll keep acting like this, and soon that it will be. Either way, it's becoming very clear that the only way around the stranglehold that technology has on our human rights is decentralization. That doesn't apply just to crowdfunding, but more than anything to communication. You can't organize if you can't talk to other people. So Facebook, for example, just shut down the Convoy to DC group, which had amassed 134,000 followers in just 2 days. No one's allowed to promote the organization anymore. Facebook all day today has been suppressing positive articles about the truckers in Canada. Of course they are. That seems like a story, but our media have ignored it. Instead, everyone in New York and DC and Los Angeles is cheering on the national security state and its alliance with Silicon Valley as they come together to crush a human rights movement. It makes sense.
Those with the so-called Freedom Convoy say they're staying put until vaccine mandates are dropped, the masks come off, and life returns to the way it was.
This whole event has gone beyond just vaccines, and it is now about the entire ordeal.
We're asking for our freedom. That's all we want.
So they've been free to park big rigs right next to the Prime Minister's office, free to set up camp in front of the country's national parliament. Ottawa police say they have learned much in the past week, especially after reports of assaults, intimidation, and allegations of hate speech and symbols.
This remains, as it was from the beginning, an increasingly volatile an increasingly dangerous demonstration.
And it is spreading like a
The West is falling. It's so wild. Like, we have a fucking vaccine, and motherfuckers don't want to take it to the degree where, like, you know, government has to take initiative and punish you for not getting the vaccine. And these people are like, fuck my shit up, COVID. Like, I'm ready to fucking fight.
contagion itself right across the country.
It's spreading like a contagion. Now, you knew that CNN was the Praetorian Guard for our ruling class. Did you know they serve the same role in Canada? And what other countries? How much money does CNN take from the government of...
Wait, he's doing that. You're doing that, Tucker. You're doing that for the other side. What? You're literally doing that, but just for the reactionary side. Why are you covering the Canadian news?
Of Canada. That'd be worth finding out. They described what's happening in Ottawa as a, quote, violent and dangerous demonstration. Really? Where's the violence coming from? The only people getting injured or have been injured so far are the protesters, the truckers. In Winnipeg on Friday, an anarchist called David Zegarak drove his Jeep into 4 people who were protesting vax mandates. The question is, how long before protests like this come here? Clearly, our media are worried about that. Watch the morning news anchors on MSNBC. They're deeply, deeply concerned about these uppity working class people.
What's really funny is, like, Republican state legislatures quite literally made what that guy did legal. You can do that with your car. You can already do that with a gun. Tucker Carlson's website, fun fact, Daily Caller, had to delete a compilation when that Nazi at Charlottesville killed Heather Heyer. Daily Caller literally had a compilation of people running over protesters, like Republicans in their pickup trucks running over protesters. No, not Daily Wire, Daily Caller. Not Daily Wire, Daily Caller. Tucker Carlson owns that website.
People, watch.
Where were these protests when people were required to give their children 5 vaccines?
They were in the doctor's office getting vaccines.
They were in the doctor's office getting vaccines, and they were making fun of left-wingers on the West Coast.
The amount of people at the Daily Wire? I'm going to nuke my fucking Discord. This has to be coming from, like, an area of or organized. I don't think chat is this fucking stupid. I don't think my chat is this fucking stupid on its own. Like, deliberately obtuse.
For being loopy anti-vaxxers. Okay. Now they have met the enemy. And the enemy, their enemy, is themselves, because they've become what they hated. It's a cult.
So here you have Joe and Mika sneering from their studio in Florida at the freezing wage earners stuck outside in Ottawa in February because they want their human rights. Screw them. Would Joe Scarborough say that to their faces? Probably not. Scarborough's famously tough on young female employees. Some say he's an absolute killer in the office. But it's hard to imagine Scarborough talking like this if there was an actual Canadian trucker in the room. Truckers in this country are watching all of this, and you wonder, what do they think about it? What would happen if American truck drivers decided they'd had enough of people like Joe Scarborough and went on strike? What would happen then? Well, this country would stop immediately. No more deliveries of...
It's true, and that would be fucking awesome. Except I'm pretty sure, like, the Teamsters fucking despise Tucker Carlson. God, I want more fucking actual labor momentum, just so, like, obviously, first and foremost, so that, you know, workers can get better benefits, higher pay for all the obvious good reasons, and then, you know, more people joining labor unions. Always a good thing. But also, the secondary reason why I want it is so that Tucker Carlson, who's like Mr. Working Class, has to go back and fucking cry about, like, how the Teamsters claim to be the side of the working class, and yet they have a $1.8 billion strike fund. Doesn't seem so working class to me, does it? That's right. The Teamsters make $100,000 on average on their salaries, somewhere as high as $250,000 in a state like California. Doesn't seem so working class, does it? Like, he will turn on fucking truckers so quick, and those are, like, actual talking points that he would use too. Which, by the way, speaking of the Teamsters, the Teamsters Canada has already denounced the Teamsters Canada has already denounced the truck drivers, and they said the real enemy for truckers is COVID-19. Statement by Francois Laporte, president of Teamsters Canada, representing over 55,000 professional drivers across Canada. But of course, you know, that goes against Tucker Carlson, who's trying to just simply propagandize. The only time that Republicans ever fucking get on board with labor unions, well, I mean, it's not even labor unions, let's be real. This is not even labor unions. But the only time Republicans get on board with like labor action is if it's the workers that do not represent a union or anything like that. And they only represent like 10% of the workers. And it's actually protesting against workplace safety provisions. It's crazy.
Anything. Over time, that would mean starvation for people in the cities. But even in the short term, there would be profound suffering in this country. For example, and this is something that too few people outside of television
did some
consider,
violence.
The world's entire supply of Botox is manufactured on the west coast of Ireland. That's a long way from here. In fact, it's a 4,000-mile-long supply chain from the Allergan plant in Westport, Ireland, to Jupiter, Florida. Now, people at MSNBC might not be aware of this, but our country has no domestic Botox production. Along with vitamin C and antibiotics, it's one of the life-saving pharmaceutical products we have recklessly offshored. So if the trucks stop delivering, the Botox stops coming. And suddenly your morning television anchors are going to look like they're 58 years old, which actually they are. Could that happen? Is it impossible? No, it's not impossible. The people in charge aren't really thinking this through. Most of the time, trends start in the United States and they move north to Canada. But this time, the opposite could happen.